Hi. All right, welcome to our Monday Dream Team Zoom. Before I dive into the Zoom itself, I just want to remind you guys we have 5 days left of the month. So many of you are up for rank advance bonuses, all the things. So please check your back office, get real specific, because on occasion somebody will think they've hit a bonus or think they're going to qualify. Like, for example, maybe somebody does $12,000 or more in volume, but they don't have all their qualified people. So just be really careful in these last 5 days to make sure. And if you're not totally sure, reach out to your upline or to me so we can make sure that you are where you belong. And then one more thing I just want to share. I put a post out and I tried to tag a bunch of people, just whoever popped up on my Facebook, I tagged them. But I'm going to start a detox on April 10th. It'll go from the 10th through the 19th, which is perfect because I leave for Thrive-Palooza on the 20th. So it literally starts the day after Easter and ends the day before Palooza. I feel like that was just the best time to do it. So if you want to detox with us, please do. We'll get that our detox group will get fired up in Facebook, but also share this with anybody and everybody. I have had several people start thriving because they started on detox. Somebody gets great results over 10 days of using detox, loves it. It's a lot easier to talk to them about moving on to the Thrive experience after that. So share. Oh, Sarah's in the bathroom. I'm cracking up. Okay, so what I decided to share with you guys today, and hopefully you've noticed that I've not been doing a lot of like technical training on our Dream Team Zoos, because you guys know how to technically do this job. You know how to log into the cloud. You know how to set password. You know all that stuff. I want to talk more to like your heart and your mindset, and kind of be that voice at least once a week that puts something in there that maybe you haven't thought of. And I'm always looking for something, whether it's through a podcast or a book. And I actually stumbled across something like a week or so ago on a podcast, and I almost didn't listen to it because it didn't sound like anything that would matter to me personally. But on one of our walks one morning, I turned it on because I couldn't find anything else to listen to. And I'll be darned if it wasn't really, really good, to the point where I've actually listened to it 3 or 4 times since to kind of grasp it all. But it's from the Rachel Hollis podcast. So let me pull up and tell you, like, it's episode 379 on her podcast list. It was back from, where'd it go? I just passed it. Sorry, hang on. February 28th. So it was not recorded. I don't know when it was recorded, but it was presented on February 28th. It's called The Artist's Way, a guide to unlocking your creative potential. So I was like, I'm not an artist. What's creative potential going to do for me? Well, a lot is what I'm going to share with you. So I want you guys to think, and I am guilty of this, which is why it meant so much to me when I started really listening to it and diving into this. How many times have you woke up and been like, today's the day, I'm getting 2 customers. I'm going to get 2 customers before the end of the day. If it kills me, I don't care if I have to talk to everybody under the rock. I don't care if I have to make passwords for people. I don't care what I have to do. I'm getting 2 customers today. That is just how it's going to be. Like, do you ever have those conversations with yourself? Or you're like, this is the week, I'm gonna finally qualify for this. I'm gonna do everything it possibly takes. And you're like, I'm gonna do it. I'm guilty of that, where I literally wake up and I push and I push and I push and I push. I pull teeth, I beg, borrow, all the things. And then I feel completely burnt out the next day, or completely stuck, or completely in a rut. And I don't really see my business grow from that activity or that attitude necessarily. And over the last almost 8 years, I've done that enough that it truly, really will bring me down. Like, it'll bring my spirit down. It brings my excitement about business down. And so she basically compares that to an artist who, I mean, how many painters get up every day and say, okay, today I'm painting my masterpiece? Because if they did, as they were painting, if they made a mistake, they would just throw it away and their masterpiece would be done, right? And how many times do we just throw away our business for the day or the week or the month or wherever in our mind because something didn't go the way we wanted it to? We didn't get those 2 customers today. We didn't get that bonus this week. So we're done. Like, we've messed it up, we're done. So we push ourselves to the point of getting stuck. We force ourselves. Like a lot of times when someone feels like they're stuck, it's literally because you've pushed yourself into that corner. Not because you're stuck in that corner, but you've pushed yourself there. Sonia says, I've stopped setting myself up for failure. I just feel like I will work it the best that I can. And if it happens, okay. If not, okay. Then you're going to love today. So basically she says how she had a conversation. So this lady is an author. So when I talk about what her art is, it's being an author, but I want you guys to think about the art of life, the art of building relationships, the art of conversation, the art of selling, the art of leadership. There is an art to everything that we do. And that's really important to keep your mind wrapped around, because when you hear things about art, my brain goes to drawing or pottery or something like that, where in reality, every process we're involved in is an art. So she said she had finally had a conversation with God, and she said, okay, God, she actually wrote this down on her wall and like hung it up. She said, okay, God, you take care of the quality. I will take care of the quantity. So in the case where I gave you the example of where I'm like, okay, I'm getting 2 customers today. Okay, there's like, I just want you to picture Jesus. He's like, okay, she's awake. Okay, Tammy's up. She has decided we're getting 2 customers today. She's only talked to 4 people in the last month, but somehow I'm supposed to come up with 2 customers out of that for her. Right? That makes his job a little tricky. Whereas if I would let him focus on the quality and me focus on the quantity, and he can say, wow, she wants 2 customers today. She has talked to 100 people this month. It's happening. She's done the work. It's happening. Right? Like, we can't qualify the people. We can't, I like all the conversations I have with Sandra Delbeck. I didn't know what day she was finally going to decide to be a thriver, but I was talking to her. So think of the people who talked to you about joining this business. Think of the people you've talked to about trying the product, about joining you on your team. You can't qualify them. That's not up to us. All we can do is talk to as many people as possible, right? So we'll let him handle the quality, we'll handle the quantity. And so then when we do need 2 people, if we've got enough people for him to help us with, then we've done our part, right? So think about it that way when you're looking at building your customer base or building your team. So in other words, building your customer service, building your sales techniques, building your leadership techniques. If you practice it enough and you talk to enough people and you do the quantity, like, is this ringing bells with anyone with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? How many times do you just not want to do it that day? I am so guilty of being like, I know I've talked to tons of people today. I just don't want to write it down. Right? But that's not me holding up my end of the quantity. I have to hold up my end of the quantity of the work that needs to be done, of the practice. So think of the painter. If you don't practice painting, if you don't even not even artist painting, think about painting a wall in your house. If you don't practice painting a wall, you can tell when someone's never painted a wall before, right? There's streaks, there's some blotches that they've missed where they cut it in, it's on the ceiling. But the more someone paints, the better they get. It's the same with the art of anything that we're doing, whether it's our relationships, our business, all that stuff. And so she talks a lot about being in the art. So I want you to think about that. She says people will talk about their art, they'll post about their art, they'll think about their art, and they will spend time learning about their art, right? And remember, your art could be selling, relationships, whatever the art is that we're thinking about, but they don't spend time in it. And I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that. I think a lot of us are. Like, I could spend all afternoon, like, think, okay, if the 6 of us were sitting around a table right now at the YMCA at a local, and it was just the 6 of us, we could literally talk for hours about our business and our Thrive life, right? Talk about it for hours. But that's not going to bring anything new to us. We could post about it. We could take pictures. We could post about it, but that's not bringing anything new to us. So it's a matter of admiring what we do enough to talk about it, to post about it, but love it enough to truly be in it. Like, almost be so focused on the process of building those relationships, of sending out those messages, of following up with those customers, that you're so in the process of it that you don't even really think about I'm doing it wrong, or I should have just said that better. I should, like, you don't have time to think about that. You're so into what you're doing, right? Does that make sense? Like, have you ever, I call it in the zone. Um, and I know I'm a dork and you all know it. So like, if I'm gardening, like I'm in the zone. Like I don't see people. I don't hear people, nothing. I'm just me and whatever I'm doing. Like I'm so in the zone in that moment. That's that, that's that feeling that we can get if we think about our jobs in the right way. We can get that feeling when we're sending our messages, when we're doing our customer service, when we're working with a team member, right? We can literally get in the zone to where we're not worried about all the noise around us, and we're not thinking about anything except that moment of service, like being of service to someone. So with that mindset behind you, I want to go over the 3 tools that she suggests to help getting yourself out of your rut, out of that corner, out of that burnout, out of whatever it is. And remember, when I say art, think of the art of selling, the art of conversation, the art of relationship building. Like I want you to think about that. So she says the number one thing, and this could go in so many directions, but the number one thing that she encourages people to do with 110% success rate is what she calls morning pages. And so she says, and I've heard this a lot when it comes to writing, like physically writing, like for an author, like she is. But she said she's had such success with dancers, painters, she's a business people. She gave lots of examples, but basically what it is, it's free flow, brain dumping first thing in the morning on sheets of paper where you're just, you're just talking to yourself about what's happening for the day. So it's basically dedicated time for free flow. That's hard to say. Free flow thought that helps to keep you centered. It helps to create gratitude. It brings clarity. So how many times have you woken up and been like, oh, I got to do this, this, and this. I got to do that. I'm worried about this. This is later in the week. And you don't pay any attention to the fact that it's the birds were chirping, the sun was shining. Maybe your kid came in and said, Mom, I love you. Like there are so many things happening that you didn't even, like it just happened. You weren't really getting that. And so she says with the morning pages, you just free flow write, woke up today, took whatever. She said it doesn't have to be about anything. But what I kind of related this to was if I would go into my reaching out to people, like talk my reach outs on Facebook where you're commenting on people's stories or you're in their messenger some way, some shape, somehow. If I would just be more free flow about it and less contrived and just set a timer and do it, just freely in the mornings or whatever is good for you, it would be so much less pressure. It would be so much less pushing yourself into that corner. It would just be going back to that, building the art. And if I can keep in my mind that I'm getting better and better at building the art of conversation, every message I send, instead of sending it and then being like, oh, that was dumb, or, oh, I should have asked this, or, oh, I hope they don't think I'm stupid for commenting on, like all those things that we hear in our head, right? After you send a message, if you just focus on, oh, I'm doing better. Every message I'm getting better. It's feeling better. If you literally go about it that way, it's a sense of freedom, like of that judging yourself the whole time, right? Instead, you're just getting better at your art. I'm getting better at starting conversations. I'm getting better at finding things to talk about with people, right? Like just free flowing that. So she highly suggests the morning page idea. I also think that is something that we all could relate to, like our affirmations or to our daily gratitude journal. But I will say she definitely talks about how, like if you're following a gratitude journal or you're going to do I ams, you're not truly in the moment because you're reading something that was already figured out ahead of time. Whereas it's like I could sit here right now and I could say my I ams, or I could sit here right now and be like, oh, there's a red bird on the tree outside my window. Oh, the plant in front of the window is looking really bad. I think it's dying. Right? Like I could literally be in the moment and be centered with what's actually happening versus reading my I ams, trying to picture myself on a beach in Mexico somewhere, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like why that's so important to center yourself every day. The other thing she talked about, which I thought this was amazing, and so hard. But she talks about your inner critic. And so, as an artist, in any way, shape, or form, somebody's always critiquing something, right? If someone writes a book, someone's going to critique it. If someone paints a painting, someone's going to critique it. Well, we don't even need that because we critique the hell out of ourselves, right? Are we not the worst critics in the world to ourselves? And so she talks about actually giving your inner critic a name so that you can have conversations with your inner critic. Because if you can master your inner critic, who is the top critic in the whole wide world, you can master any criticism. So she actually talked about how before she started using this tool, that when someone critiqued one of her books one time, she just got in a deep, dark hole and like really struggled she didn't want to leave the house. She didn't want to talk to anybody. She felt like they're probably right. I'm a horrible author. And it was just how it hits. And how many times, and I still remember the very first time somebody, they had thrived with me. I think they'd even come to a local. They were all about Thrive. And I sent them a text with like I don't know, a sale of some sort or whatever. They were like, please remove me from your list. Like they just cut me off like hot rocks. And I just remember being like, oh my God. Like I was so hurt and shocked and didn't know what to do. And then I felt like I shouldn't text anybody else because look what happened when I sent this text. This girl flipped her lid, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like I just went down this rabbit hole. So she talks about naming your critic. And when your critic starts talking to you, acknowledging them. And she cracked me up because she said she named her critic Nigel because that's an uppity British name. And she said her inner critic is very uppity and always like, you're not doing good enough. You're not, So she said that she's actually learned when she's having the thought, maybe she's doing her morning pages or maybe she's actually writing a book and it comes up to her that it's not good enough or whatever. She says she will literally stop and be like, Nigel, thank you so much for your opinion. I hope you have a great day. And she would move on. And so she literally practices this daily. But now she's also said that she has learned, she said she can just feel such a difference when she gets a review on her book from an outside critic that thank you for your opinion. And she moves on. How great would that be when you hear yourself say, your house isn't good enough. That message was horrible. No wonder you didn't get that bonus. You suck at this, right? How awesome would it be when you hear those things to say, thank you for your opinion and just move on? Like to really, truly master your inner critic. So I loved that. And part of me thinks I should name my inner critic Sally because I talk about Sally all the time. But Sally just seems too nice. So anyway, I got to think of a name for my inner critic. But I definitely think that's one I want to try. And then the last tool or technique that she talks about for helping get out of a rut. And this one seems like such a no-brainer, but I struggle with it and I bet you guys struggle with it too. And she actually calls it an artist date where you take yourself on a date. So you take yourself on an adventure of some sort, not Kroger, like an adventure. So things like time alone, something that is not part of your daily routine, could include like if you were interacting with humans all the time, you might want something that's not interacting with humans. If you're not around people a lot, then you might want to do something with humans, something that will fill your cup. And if for some reason you can't leave your house to do it, she says you can even do something like just bake a cake, get out in your garden, go read a book, go hiking. Basically what she's talking about is downtime. Literally turning off your brain and having downtime. And that is something that I don't think that we do a great job of in network marketing because we can work anywhere, anytime, right? How many times do we say that? We can work from anywhere, anytime, anywhere, anytime. But it's also really important to not work all the time, everywhere, right? There's a big difference there. You do need to unplug. You do need to take time for yourself. You do need to take time to enjoy the things that you truly love to do and not beat yourself up for spending time away from the magical little black box phone. Like I struggled with that a little bit yesterday. We just had such a beautiful day. We could finally be outside. We could do things in the garden. And I just had so much I wanted to do, but it was also the last day of the double triple. So I just made sure my ringer was on. I checked my phone every so often. I was in lots of group chats with lots of these faces. And you all know I responded to them. I responded to you. But outside of that, I did not work my business. I had my downtime. And it's very important to do that and feel okay with it. And I did struggle the first hour or so, feeling really guilty about I should be inside, I should be, going through my reports, I should be blah, blah, blah. But I feel a million times better today that I upheld my end of the bargain, but I also took my time, right? So just think about that. So the next time you're feeling stuck or you're feeling in a rut, did you put yourself there? Did you push yourself so hard? Did you force yourself to create orange juice from lemons, right? Have you ever like squeezed and squeezed and squeezed so hard to get a customer out of whatever you could churn up? Like, I don't know, Sally, we'll talk about Sally wanted shakes and her brother wanted capsules and maybe her mom was it's like you're like, okay, we're going to do one customer getting an order in, right? Have you ever been so like, I'm going to do this, that then you literally get finished and you think, oh my gosh, that was so hard. That was so much work. That was just not what I want. Well, that's the first step, is acknowledging that you put yourself in that place. You pushed yourself into that corner. And so think again about that quote, you take care of the quality and I'll take care of the quantity. And so the quantity falls on us. If we are not working on the art of conversation over and over and over and over on a daily basis, we can't expect customers to suddenly talk to us about Thrive, right? We just can't expect it to fall out of the sky. And I'm guilty of hoping it falls out of the sky all the time. So if you can think about your job as a promoter as really practicing over and over the art of conversation, the art of relationship building, the art of leadership, but not getting stuck on training and learning about it, talking about it, posting about it, like actually doing it, because that's how you get better, right? Again, think of a little kid trying to learn how to ride a bike. They can talk about it, they can post about it, they can watch videos about it, but until they put their butt on that bike and put the feet on their pedals, or the pedals, the feet on the pedals, they're not going to learn how to ride that bike. So it's the same with us. If we want to have these booming businesses and we want to have these amazing teams and we want all of this stuff for ourselves, we have to literally get in there and do it. But you also have to give yourself the grace that you are learning every day by the act of doing and practicing your art of building a business. Being an entrepreneur is an art. There's an art to it. It takes practice. It takes tenacity. It takes grit, which I think somebody could say the same thing about being a portrait, like painting a portrait. That takes tenacity and grit, and that takes determination. It'd be very easy to start and give up, right? The second the nose was wrong, you could throw the whole painting away and say you suck, or you could paint over top of it and start again, right? So give yourself some grace. Sandra says, I love all this. I've always called it the art of teaching. So this all makes sense. Yes. Like everything we do, there's an art to everything we do. There's an art to cooking dinner. There's an art to getting dressed. Like think of the people who dress really well, like they're just snazzy dressers. There's an art to that. They didn't wake up that way. They've learned that over the years, right? People who can get up on stage and talk in front of a whole group of people, that's an art. They've practiced that. And so, you would never expect to go into a doctor's office and not just you just assume that they've been practicing and practicing and practicing and learning and right, like, but yet we just want to become network marketers and be like amazing overnight. So we have to practice the art of network marketing. There is an art to it. You guys can listen to Eric Worre all day long talk about the art of network marketing. He has a book about it. But I just thought this was such a different perspective for me, because I've never really thought of it this way. I mean, definitely not. And I have felt very stuck in ruts before. But when I think back to those times, the day or the weeks prior, it was my activity that put me in that corner. It was my activity that wore me out. It was my activity that made me feel blah about the whole thing. And so I want to take control of the activity that happens ahead of time so that I don't get in that rut. But should I get in that rut, these are some tools to help get out of them. So again, the morning pages, the naming your inner critic, and the artist date, as she calls it, and just trying to remember to be in your art. Like I know there was a couple of days last week where there was just a lot going on, and I was like, just stop, like put your blinders on, Tammy, and just be in it. Like just be in it. Just pick up the phone, or it's and I'll throw this little, this is just me, not from the book I read, but this is a tip for me. Sometimes I do better if I'm in my office on my phone, or sometimes I do better if I'm in my office on my actual computer, because sometimes my phone will send me triggers of like Instagram or TikToks or whatever. Whereas if I'm on my computer working, I tend to be a little more focused. So find what works for you and use it to your advantage. Like yesterday out in the garden working, having my phone nearby, that was great and good. But to truly like focus, I do better on my computer. So some of you might have a computer, some might have a laptop, some might have a tablet, and some of you might only have your phone. So if you only have your phone and you're only working this business from your phone, start paying attention to what rooms or what spots you do better in. Do you have a chair in the living room that you do really, really well and you can stay focused? Or is that spot in the living room, does it have a TV that's on that's distracting you? Because maybe you need to go back to the spare bedroom. And you know what I mean? Like find what works for you, but find that spot where you can truly be in it and truly be working your business. And then pat yourself on the back for doing so. And then go do all the other things that we have to do, like our regular jobs, take care of our home, take care of a child, like all those other things, right? So anyway, so I hope this was helpful. Her book is called The Artist Way. Her name is Julian Cameron, which I then started researching her. Apparently she was married to Martin Scorsese, and she's written a bunch of movies, all kinds of stuff, but I had never heard of her. But her biggest accomplishment is this book. And apparently everybody under the sun that has any kind of success in their life, as far as like music or art or whatever, they give her credit for these tools that she helped them understand to keep going in their craft. So maybe some of you are feeling amazing right now and being stuck is the last thing that you have going on. Freaking kudos. Stay there, roll with it, keep going. But if you are one who's like, I'm a little bit of a rut right now, I'm struggling a little bit, really think about giving these 3 things a try and then let me know how it works for you. So, okay, guys, if you are available in the next 2 minutes, there is the Monday, I forget what it's called all of a sudden, but it's the one with Susan and Starla. They have Kelly Hoover on, and then at 1 o'clock there is a call. And so remember, you don't always have to be on these things because you also need to use your time to work your business. So if you feel like you're zoomed out for the day, you can catch replays. All right, see you guys later. Bye.